Hello, shalom. Welcome to Hanging on His Words, a live stream. You're speaking with Ken Heidebrecht. Well, you're not really going to be speaking with me, but you're going to be interacting with me, hopefully in the chat. Welcome. I welcome you here. Thank you for coming tonight. Tonight's probably going to be a little shorter than usual. Unfortunately, I kind of timed this not the greatest. Brother Josh and Michael, brothers Josh and Michael, are doing a live stream over at Founded Earth Brothers right now. Their Origins Untold documentary that they've been a part of, and I didn't realize that they were doing that tonight, so I'm assuming a bunch of people are over there watching it. I kind of wish I was too. So this won't be the longest live stream, guys, but I do appreciate those of you who have shown up tonight for being here. Thank you so much. So I'm going to take a look in the chat to see who is here. Duran, shalom, brother. Welcome. Robert Daniels, hello, bud. Country Dad. Matt, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for coming tonight. We got Sister Marcia in the house. What else we got here? From Yahwehs MT. Sorry, I think I've said that one before, and I just struggle with that tag, unfortunately. Sorry. Welcome here. Sister Carla. How's it going? Thanks for joining me tonight. Brother Nick, welcome. We've got deep holes in the house. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Very hot and crispy in Australia. Very suspect weather. Yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of suspect weather all over the world, eh? Yeah, we had a recent hurricane come through our area here in Nova Scotia Saturday evening through Sunday, and we lost power. Had a tree come down, actually hit the side of our house. Didn't do too much damage, just kind of tore the eaves off and blocked us into our one means of egress if we have to get out. So unfortunately, we have a good landlord who came by and took care of that today and made some firewood for themselves, I guess. But yeah, the weather's been very interesting, and yeah, praying for people out there who are having to deal with forest fires and droughts and hurricanes, floodings. We've had a mixture of different weather patterns come through our province in Canada this past summer, so it's been really interesting, frustrating. We dealt with fires early on as well, and then it, the floodgates opened up, so to say, and we dealt with some flooding as well, and recent hurricanes. So just interesting. What else we got in here? Ethereal Creations, shalom family, she's saying. Shalom sister, thanks for coming. GR Cleve, shalom y'all, they're saying. Shalom you guys. Kingdom in context. Ken's dancing head reminds me of Jib Jab. I don't know who that is, sorry buddy, but I'm glad you got something out of that dancing head. What else we got in here? Jesse Reeves, shalom sister, hello. Alicia Faye, I'm so happy to be here. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. BTBFBG, how art thou? They're asking. I'm not sure who this person is, so I will respond in like manner. I'm doing well. How art thou? Berto White, shalom family. Shalom, Berto. Kathy's in the house. Shalom to all. She's saying, can anyone recommend a place to purchase a really good quality shofar? Sister, I bought my shofar almost, I don't know, I would say about 8 or 9 years ago. It was through Steve Bergson's ministry. Yeah, I think that's where we got it. Actually, it might have been through 119 Ministries, and then they were associated with Steve Bergson, and he was either making them or he was outsourcing them or something like that. But if you go to 119 Ministries, they might still have a tab on their website that shows where you can purchase one. Yeah, if people know, please put something in the comments or the chat there, links to where Kathy can get a decently good shofar. Ours is good. It's about yay big, I'd say. Blows pretty good. Definitely want to be using it in these feast days that we're upon. Happy Yom Teruah trumpets if you've celebrated already, or if you're going to be celebrating. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. It's one of those feast days that you don't get a whole lot of information on. It seems rather simple, just blowing trumpets, and and eating. But yeah, for those of you who are participating in that memorialization, I hope you guys have fun. And yeah, you get to make a lot of noise. It's great. Jerry Patterson, shalom, y'all. Shalom, buddy. Mark Anthony, he says, hey, what's up? Hey, buddy. Thanks for coming. KC says, hi from Cape Breton. Hello. A fellow Nova Scotian. Cape Breton is on the eastern part of the province, as far east as you can go in the province. And it's a beautiful little place. That's cool. Thanks for coming out tonight. Country Fun saying, shalom. Hey, Sister Sam, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight. Wildflowers of Avonlea, shalom. Shalom. Who else we got in here? Zon Chanch. Sorry, I don't know if I said that right. I heard your music come on and was like, what? Then I remembered I had your live tab open and waiting. Glad for your content as always. Yeah. Yeah, I figured I'd kind of do a little shameless plug at the beginning of these countdown timer things at the beginning of a live stream. Just put my music in there. And for those of you who like what you hear, I do record, write, produce music, and you can go to my YouTube channel, Mountains into the Sea, if you want to listen to it for free, or if you want to support me, you can head over to, where is it here? Do I have an open tab for it? No, I don't. Okay, well, it's Bandcamp. Go over to Bandcamp and just type in Mountains into the Sea there, and all my discography is there. I have about 4 albums, I believe, that are on there. I didn't include some of my earliest stuff. I don't want that. I don't want that out in the world. But yeah, I have a lot of my recent stuff there. So check that out if you want. Lena Scott saying, just saying hi, but I have to watch the Flat Earth movie. Yes, I think that's what you're referring to. The Origins Untold over on Founded Earth Brothers. Yeah, they're doing a live stream over there. I kind of wish I was there actually too. But hey, we'll go through this, and they might still be going once I'm done. Probably not, but we'll see. Linda Carter, Shalom Country, saying, hello, sister. I hope you're doing well. I've been meaning to get back to you in email. Who else we got on here? Amanda Rodriguez, thank you. Yeah, you are safe in your family. Yeah, we're fortunate. We actually, my wife and I, went up to New Brunswick, which is a province north of Nova Scotia, and we went to a cheap hotel Friday evening. We drove up after I was done work Friday, stayed at this hotel, and then went and saw a younger couple who we had met back during Passover time, and they had joined us for Feast of Passover there, and just a young couple new to Torah, and we figured we'd go and visit them and fellowship with them because they're craving fellowship, and they're kind of in not an isolated area in New Brunswick, but there aren't many Torah communities or faith communities that are kind of like what they believe. So we figured we'd take a little trip up there and visit them. Static Kingdom, shalom. I think we got pretty much all the folks in the chat. See a lot of hey John, how you doing, buddy? I didn't have to water my garden once all year. Yeah, I know. We've had a lot of rain. It's quite something. It's I haven't ever seen a summer like this where the grass isn't crispy, you know. It was always just lush and wet. So it was interesting. We got Sister Lindsay in the house. Okay, she's got a super sticker, $5 super sticker. Thank you, sister. Appreciate it. Much love to you. Who else is in here? Got another Canadian in the house, Static Kingdom. Shalom, A from another Canadian. Thanks for joining me tonight, buddy. Amanda Rodriguez is saying, it's the time of testing, fam. All the things Yah has warned us through his word. Yah has even shown my husband more specifically and myself judgments to come. Tsunami and EMP. Let's stay ready. Yes, stay ready. Stay ready. And focus on what's coming, the good stuff that's coming, right? We as Christians, unfortunately, have a proclivity of honing in on the negative a little too much. And, you know, I'm guilty of that as well. I have been in the past. And so you got to kind of have that ratio, a proper ratio. I would say the ratio should lean heavier towards the good stuff, focusing on the kingdom of God, focusing on the promises of the covenant, as opposed to what Satan's doing. And, because I feel like a lot of people get bogged up in that, and then they lose their faith. They get worried, they get fearful, and yeah, it just takes over them. So I just want to encourage folks to not unplug from that stuff. I think it's good to be mindful of what's going on in the world and what Satan's doing, but also pay attention to what God's doing as well, and more importantly, what He will be doing in the future. Focus on that stuff. All right, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Let's go over to my creation solar calendar. So I recently put out posts on my social media to inform people that I am now taking orders for the following year's creation solar calendar. Last year when I did it, it was after many people reaching out, saying, "Hey, that would be really cool if I could get a actual wall calendar. Do you know anyone who makes them, or could you possibly make one?" And I actually had a bunch of people saying that to me, and I was like, "Well, maybe I'll just do it." So I did it, and it was rushed. I felt like it was rushed, and I wasn't very efficient with how I got people to send the orders through to me and all that stuff. Like I had hundreds of people emailing me, and I was going back and forth with them, telling them how long it's going to take and the payment plan. Like it was a lot of work. And so I figured this year I'm going to start earlier, and I'll just inform folks on my socials that there is a calendar coming, and this is what it looks like. This is the front. Let's give you a couple slides here, a little sneak peek what that looks like. So it's got the quartered circle here. That was in my first gen calendar, I guess you could say. It's going to be in the second gen calendar as well. And it's a 364 day year calendar. It's out of the book of Enoch. It's in Jubilees as well. It's the ancient Hebrew calendar. It's really neat. And it makes a lot of sense of scriptures. It makes sense of just biblical timelines in general. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed putting it together. So this year I am starting to take orders, and just look for my social media posts on that. It brings up to the cost, how the shipping's included, and the information as to how to actually get a hold of a physical copy if you do want one. So yes, they're available, and I'm taking orders now. So yeah. Also, I get questions with regard to the solar calendar about intercalation. It's one of those interesting aspects in calendrical studies that can frustrate a lot of people, myself included. And so I figured I would have a guest on a live stream coming up in the future. And it's Brother Alan Pisarik. I'm not sure if many people have heard of him or not, but he's been on this calendar for years as well. He's well studied, very familiar with the Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts, and he has a very unique and interesting perspective with how we are to essentially start day one on month one. And so I'm going to invite him on. I think we're doing that. When was that? October 15th. Yeah. So in October, it's a Sunday, another Sunday evening on the 15th. It's actually the night before we start our virtual Kingdom Crew conference. So yeah, you guys are going to be blessed with all this information. So I am going to have him on. We're going to have a discussion with regards to the solar calendar, some of the basics, and we're going to break down kind of intercalation and how that works. So keep an eye out for that live stream. And speaking of the Kingdom Crew virtual conference, that is coming up in October on the 16th, and it's going until the 22nd. As you can see on the screen here, the guest speakers include all these fine folks, and I do believe there's even more. So it's a free conference that Sean Griffin is putting on, and I think it's on Kingdom in Context actual channel, but it's our Kingdom Crew virtual conference, we're calling it. So I believe it's hosted on Sean's channel, Kingdom in Context. But that's coming up, guys. It's coming up. There's a lot of interesting topics that are going to be presented, and I am going to be presenting my topic, which will be called Yahweh's Divine God Bod. Now, I know that might sound relatively blasphemous, um, depending on what your theology is, depending on who you think the Father is, who you think the Son is, what you think the overall nature of all creation is. And so that's actually kind of what I am going to be discussing a little bit this evening. As you guys may have noticed, I'm going to be opening up 1 Corinthians 15 for us and just going through several passages in there. And yeah, it's pertinent to our understanding of the gospel message and just the overall good news of God's coming kingdom and what He's promised us. So I figured I'm gonna extract out of that concept or that theme in Scripture and hone in on it for the Kingdom Conference, my portion of it. So I think people will hopefully get something out of it. And I'm also going to be releasing a new song. It's coming along pretty good, and it's called Family Crisis. So I'm excited to share that with the world. I think people will enjoy it. If you like my music, then it's pretty much just my music. Like there's no real genre switches. Like you won't be surprised. Like, oh my gosh, this is Ken. Like it's a familiar sound of mine, and but yeah, I'm hoping that it'll convict people who listen to the message behind the music, and yeah. So speaking of the virtual conference, on the 22nd, Sean Griffin and his crew over at Days of Noah are going to be playing their first episode of the Days of Noah. And so I'm going to just quickly play that little teaser that Sean gave me on the live stream that he was on with me. And yeah, let me play it here. Yeah, okay. That is going to be played on October 22nd, that first episode. Let me just remove this real quick. Sorry, guys. And isn't it cool? I love it. I've watched it a couple times, not gonna lie. Sean sent it to me, and I've watched it a few times. I'm really excited for it. It's gonna be pretty sweet. If you guys hadn't noticed, at the end of that little video there's a website where you can go and help support their endeavors because it is crowdfunded. So when I had Sean on for the interview, unfortunately that evening there was issues with their website. So it's good now in terms of wanting to donate or to just go peruse the website a little bit. It should be good now if you wanted to do that. But yes, so I am going to be also doing a watch party that evening. I think it's going to be on the evening. I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be in the evening for me. I have to kind of flesh that out with Sean, but I would love to watch it live and, yeah, just comment on it along the way, and I think it'd be fun to do, so I'm gonna aim to do it. It's gonna be on October 22nd, so join me, for that if you would like, and we are gonna watch a awesome animated series that depicts some of the days in which a lot of Christians have no idea about. Um, I think that this series is gonna do such an incredible, um it's just gonna be amazing for folks to get a glimpse into what that world could have been like, and hopefully they'll be able to extract out of that world that Sean is creating while using the ancient Hebraic scriptures, truth for what is coming in our days, right? Because Yeshua said that just as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So, yes, I think definitely we're going to want to watch this and get a glimpse into what that world could have been like. And I think someone like Sean, who's like very well studied and has done his due diligence with regards to what these characters were likely like, and he's very familiar with that world because he's well studied in the books of Enoch and Jubilees and others. And so yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Very awesome. Oh, you know what? Founded Earth Brothers is actually he's in the house, I believe. Yeah, there he is. Josh and Michael, I send the complicated calendar stuff to my wife so she can translate it for me. Yeah, there is some complicated aspects to the calendar. Absolutely. Brother, does this mean that your live stream's over? Origins Untold. Hopefully, everything went well there. I apologize if I stole some of your folks or whatever over to my live stream if that interrupted yours. I didn't realize that you're going to be doing that this evening, but I look forward to watching that later on. I'm excited to watch that, to live stream that documentary. If you're saying it's good, then it's going to be good. I trust your word. So I think that's everything, guys. I think I'll just jump probably into. Oh, we got a super chat. I have to address the super chats, guys. Okay. Show that. Casey, thank you so much. Appreciate it. What else we got here? How are you folks doing? Sanctified Supply Co. says, hey, brother Ken. Hey, brother. Shalom. Thanks for joining tonight. Yeah, so guys, I wanted to bring up 1 Corinthians chapter 15. It's been a life-changing chapter for me, honestly. As you may have noticed, depending on whether or not you're new to this channel or a long-time subscriber or viewer, I hover around 1 Corinthians 15 often in videos, and because I think that it's imperative for us as believers to really get a glimpse into what Paul is expressing and explaining in this chapter. And as you know, Paul can be rather complicated at times with the way he iterates things, and the majority of the times when we're having struggles with understanding him, it's because we don't quite comprehend the front of the book. The guy was a complete scholar. Like, he was a Hebrew of Hebrews. He studied under Gamaliel. Gamaliel was like one of the guys that if you had the opportunity to study under, you would study under him, within Judaism, that is. So Paul was a complete phenom when it came to comprehending the Word of God, and even studying under Gamaliel. Apparently, you had to know the Torah front and back, memorized. You had to be able to express it. You had to verbalize it, and that's crazy to me. But so the guy had standards. If you were going to be a pupil under him, you had to have it memorized, and so Paul was diligent in being able to do that type of stuff. So yeah, so Paul's amazing, and he clearly understood the gospel message of the kingdom of God, and I understand why the Father decided to send his son on the road to Damascus and give him a course change. I guess I get it, because he was very zealous, even though his zeal was not necessarily aimed in the right direction. He admits that he himself persecuted the church of God, and he was humble in saying that he was the least of all the apostles because of that. And it takes humility to say that and to convey that in a letter. And so it's been memorialized in our scriptures, right? So his humility is there for all to see. And so, yeah, so Paul definitely wanted to express to the Corinthian church, his congregants there, the importance of this resurrection, right? Because during the first century, if you read in Acts, or even if you've familiarized yourself with any first century history, the cultures that the Jews and just the Hebrews in general were surrounded in was like a Greco-Roman world, right? So you had the Greeks and all their philosophies. You had Plato and Socrates. You had all these Greek philosophers who were going around with their teachings, and so it was very prevalent in society to think, to use your mind and try to get closer to the creator or to understand him in some regard, right? A lot of them, tried their best. I think they tried to some degree to get closer to the Father and to understand who the Creator is. Although, yeah, they went about it, I think, not the greatest of ways, but so Paul was very familiar with kind of the world view in which he was steeped as being a very philosophical worldview, right? And so his philosophy, if you want to call it that, um, was intriguing to folks. When you read in Acts, was it Acts 17? I can't remember which chapter, but he's at the Areopagus, and there's a bunch of Greeks there, and they're philosophizing, and they're talking about the latest idea or concept, right? That was kind of the thing to do, to meet at this place and discuss, of the great minds coming together and just discussing things, and they enjoyed that. And so Paul thought he would take advantage of that. He would go there and strike up a conversation, and so he brings this new doctrine to their ears, and he describes to them Yahweh and Yahweh's Son, and kind of a simplistic, quick, concise, succinct version of the gospel to them, including the resurrection, obviously. And a lot of them laughed and scoffed, but some of them wanted to hear a little bit more. And so that's kind of what we see in today's society, right? People have their modern philosophies, their modern ways of trying to get closer to whatever it is that they think is holding all of creation up, and you know what I mean, the energy, the this, the that. And so we as Christians have the opportunity, just like Paul did, to address you know who the real creator is. We can present to them who the actual God of all creation is, and um, what he presents to them, what he can offer them if they would draw closer to him and draw in covenant with him. So I'm going to just open up here 1 Corinthians 15. We're just going to go over it and discuss it, because I do believe that a lot of folks, especially in Christianity, don't really understand what it is that Paul is saying here. If you watch debates or if you watch any of Sean's interactions with folks online, it seems like anytime this chapter is brought up, it's received with scoffing and mockery and laughter. And it's interesting to me because, it's interesting and sad to me, because what Paul is expressing here, in my opinion, is it's not overly complex. It's not complicated. You don't have to and metaphorize anything that he's saying here, even though he is using similes and metaphors to try to convey his message here. But it's pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to start reading, and we'll discuss it along the way. Let's go 1 Corinthians 15, chapter 15, verse 35. It says, "But someone will say, 'How are the dead raised? And with what kind of body do they come?'" So that's a good question, right? How are they raised? and with what body do they come? And actually, this was a question that the prophet Baruch, prophet and scribe, he was Jeremiah's scribe. He had the same question. If you've ever read the second book of Baruch, he has a conversation with Yahweh, and he's asking a similar thing, like what is the bodies of those of us who are following you and in covenant with you? What does that look like? Is it what we have now? I think he refers to it as like these and tremoling or entangling members. Are we going to have these again, or like how's that work? And it's a good question, right? And so Paul's rhetorically asking this here to the Corinthians, or saying that someone will say, "How are the dead raised, and with what kind of body do they come?" So it's very important. And he's going to break that down. He says, "You fool, that what you sow does not come to life unless it dies." So Paul, being a Hebrew, and the Hebrews were a very agrarian culture. You know, they liked to sow seeds. They liked to grow vegetables, and they had their livestock, and they had the temple to bring all this stuff to the priests, and like they were very in tune with the earth and the creation. And so Paul and the apostles, just in general, Yeshua himself included, they like to use these agrarian metaphors and just that language to kind of draw points of truth to. And so he says, that which you sow does not come to life unless it dies. So that's interesting. Moving on, in that which you sow, you do not sow the body which is to be, but a bare grain, perhaps of wheat or of something else. So what he's saying there is, you're not sowing, the outcome of what you would naturally sow into the earth. Like, it's not like you're going to take a stalk of wheat and dig it into, dig a hole, put it into the earth and expect that to grow. No, like that's the outcome. That's the result of what this little seed will do, right? So he's drawing this comparison in this manner. And he says in verse 38, "But God gives it a body just as he wished, and to each of the seeds a body of its own." And so I love this because Yahweh has always, I don't like to use the word wished, but this is the translation that I have up here that uses the word wished. But it was always Yahweh's good pleasure, I suppose you could say, to provide all of us with a body that is going to be akin to his sons. And but we have to start off with the natural body first. The first Adam, the flesh and blood individual, has to undergo this process in order to get to that. But he had always wanted us to have that type of body. And so it's just amazing to me that he knew all about it from the very beginning of all creation. He knows the end from the beginning, and he knew that we earth-born human beings were going to eventually one day, if we want it, can have the type of body that will live forever. And so that's just shows what kind of amazing God we serve. Oh, thank you, Zonchant. Appreciate you. Stoked for your new song, Family Crisis, and to learn something about what the God bod might be. Also stoked for the days of Noah. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, and so verse 39, all flesh is not the same flesh. So Paul's, he's breaking down these differences in types and kinds. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there's one flesh of men, and another flesh of beasts, and another flesh of birds, and another of fish. Okay, so right here in verse 39, he's telling us, flesh of men, and we know that in Genesis that Adam was, he was created from the dust of the earth. He's earthy, and we know that beasts were also created from the earth as well. But what's interesting is that Second Esdras, which was another book that's I believe worth reading, studying. It's been in out of canons throughout history. It tells us that actually Yahweh used the water that he created, which Jubilees says in chapter 2, that Yahweh created water on day one. And out of that water, he created the flesh of birds and of fish. We don't see that in the book of Genesis, but I just find that very interesting that he uses these different elements that he's created to bring forth life, right? He uses something, he creates an element, and then out of those elements, he fashions life. And so you get that in Second Esdras, and it's amazing. Verse 40, there are also heavenly bodies. Okay, so he's jumping to a different type now. So we're going to the heavenly. And when he's describing heavenly, he's referring to everything that's above the firmament. Because in Genesis chapter 1, we're told that when Yahweh created the firmament on day number 2, he called it heaven. And again, Jubilees tells us that he created the heavens, the multiple layers, on day number 1. So above our layer of firmament is everything up above that is referred to as the heavens, the heavenlies. And there are kinds up there as well, And so Paul's going to continue to break this down. He says there are also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies. Okay, so we got the comparison between two bodies, right? A body is tangible. That's the implication here. It's not that earthly bodies are tangible and the heavenly bodies are not like incorporeal. You can't grab onto them. Their tangibility to both of these bodies. And so he was trying to express this, and we actually get to see this fleshed out at Yeshua's resurrection, which is amazing. So he says there are also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies, but the glory of the heavenly is one, and the glory of the earthly is another. Okay, so yes, when we use the word glory there, it's referring to let's just pull it up here. A thing that is beautiful or distinctive, the splendor and bliss of heaven. I mean, the word glory in English can mean several different things. It could be praise, worship, thanksgiving to a deity. It could be magnificence or great beauty, right? So I believe it's the latter there. I think he's referring to the glory, the magnificence, the beauty of one is what it is, right? The heavenly is beautiful, magnificent, powerful. And then the glory of the earthly is beautiful and magnificent as well, right? When God created all these things on day one and, creation week in general, he says it's all good. So our bodies are good. They're inferior, obviously, which is why we need the upgrade to the heavenly one, to that glory. And so in verse 41, he says, there is one glory of the sun and another glory of the moon and another glory of the stars. For stars differ from star in glory. So again, he's referring to the things that are above the firmament. The sun, the moon, the stars, they have their own glory, their own magnificence, their own splendor of how Yahweh created them. And what's interesting here is the sun, the moon, and the stars. I know, like in modern day 21st century culture, we're told that the sun is a star, right? And that's just not true. And in the book of Jubilees, and I think might be in Enoch as well, talks about how when Yahweh created the sun and the moon and the stars, he created them all as their own kinds. So there's a differentiation between all three of them. The sun is not a star. The sun is the sun. There's only one sun. There's only one moon. And there's all these stars. And the stars, they don't have moons circulating around them. There's only one moon. So these are very unique celestial bodies that are up above the firmament, and they each have their own glory. And the stars actually differ from glory to glory in themselves, which is fascinating to me too. So he even felt the need to create within the kind of stars, which is its own kind, its own classification, separate glories compared to all of them. So it's kind of like human beings in a way, right? Where we're the flesh kind, but we're all unique. We all have our own individual fingerprint pattern. We all have our own nefesh, our own soul, our own mind, will, emotions. We have the free will. We have all these things that are ours, right? And we have our individuality. And so the Father didn't want to create, stars all the same, just like he didn't want to create humans all the same. He wanted them all to be unique, which is just incredible to me. Verse 42. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown a corruptible body, it is raised an incorruptible body. Okay, so here corruptible, kind of an archaic word, but it can mean like decaying, like a body that decays. It's sown a body that decays, and we know we decay, right? Our body when we die goes back to the earth, decays, the flesh rots, goes to the earth. And he's saying here, it is raised an incorruptible body. So now we have something that doesn't decay. It lasts forever. 43, it is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. So dishonor, obviously, when we're walking around in these flesh bodies, we have the ability to sin, and we have the ability to decay, and we can mistreat our bodies, right? We can put things in them that Yahweh never intended for us to do. Whereas once these bodies decay, they reach their fullness of decaying, and the resurrection happens. They're raised in glory, so they don't ever have to go through that dishonoring nature, if you want to call it that again. So our bodies are sown in weakness, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling the weakness as each year passes. I'm trying to maintain this flesh suit of mine, but it's hard. It gets hard, But so it's sown in weakness, and it's raised in power. So that's exciting. That's a great word to use. It's raised in power. Yeah, I like that. And again, my mind when I read these descriptions goes to just Yeshua, right? He's the first fruits of the resurrection. He got to display to his disciples exactly what that power kind of looks like. And we're going to see what that power looks like too at his return. And it's not the type of power that you can have in a natural body. I mean, there are some pretty powerful natural bodies out there, but nothing like the type of power that the Father wants to provide each and every one of us through a spiritual body. Verse 45, so also it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living soul. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. So this is the juxtaposition between Adam being created from the dirt. The Father breathed the breath of life into him, and he became a living soul. Nefesh is the word in Hebrew. And once that happens, that nefesh, that soul, lives on. Even though the body that's natural and earthy decays and dies, that soul actually continues to live on. And I have a couple of videos that I've released on my channel that breaks down just that concept if you guys are interested. What are they called? I can't remember my own videos, what they're called. Isn't that something? One of them is, what is a resurrected body? I released that probably about a month and a half ago. But yeah, it'll break that down. Because a lot of folks don't realize that once a person dies, once a natural body gives up the ghost, so to speak, something happens that the churches don't really explain. They don't really dig into the kind of the details that surround what that experience is like, because the scriptures aren't silent on that. They're definitely full of information with regards to what happens after a natural body is done. Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 12, I think it's 8 or 7, that the spirit that God gives each and every man to live goes back to him upon death. But then there's this soul. That's our mind, will, emotions. It's the information. It's who we really are. That has to go somewhere. That doesn't just dissipate. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't go to heaven. And actually, the scriptures describe exactly where it does go. And it's within the creation model. It goes to the underworld. It goes to Sheol, or Hades in the Greek. And it waits there. And if you're not familiar with Paul and just what the scriptures teach with regards to that holding cell upon death, then you're not going to understand what he's saying here, because he's referring, like, the point of the seed going into the earth is that's our soul, guys. Our soul goes to Sheol, gets planted into the earth. It gets raised up into this spiritual body that he's trying to express to his congregants here. So yeah, it's imperative that we understand that element of the creation model, that the Father has his domain above, we have our domain here, but then there's a domain below us that hosts a like, I guess it's like a suspended animation in a way, where we're waiting there. It's referred to as a sleep. The Hebrews refer to it as like the sleep of death, where you go there and you kind of rest, right? And so you're planted into the earth and you're waiting until you spring forth, until Yeshua springs you forth through his power that he's been given by the Father. All right, where are we? Verse 46, however, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, then the spiritual. So obviously he's referring to the resurrection, right? He's talking about what we will experience, what all believers, anyone who was in covenant from Adam forward, is going to experience, because as we know, we can kind of extrapolate out of this information that there is a spiritual body, and we know that through the angels, we know that through the Son, we know that through the Father, they all have that. And then there's the natural body, which we have, but he's trying to tell us kind of the order of operations with regards to how we get to the spiritual body, right? So the spiritual body isn't something that the angels, have to have a natural body and then the spiritual themselves first. Obviously, we know they have the spiritual body right from the get-go. So this is referring only to the resurrection, but just in general, obviously these two kinds are there. Let me just get rid of this. The first man is from the earth, verse 47. The first man is from the earth, earthy. The second man is from heaven. So again, Paul wants us to know, you got the earth, earthy man, us, Adam. The second man, that would be Yeshua, or I guess us as well, once we're resurrected into our second man, spiritual body. Its essence, its nature, the spirit nature that makes it what it is, comes from Yahweh's domain. It's not here. It's not on this earth right now. All right, let's go to the next slide here. How are we doing in the chat here, guys? Hopefully I'm making some sense. Probably preaching to the choir. I know a lot of people here are familiar with the stuff that we teach already, and but for anyone who's new or who may struggle with these concepts, I hope that you do, treat me like a Berean in a way, or you guys become Bereans and treat me like I'm not teaching truth, I guess. Go to the scriptures and see, what's he talking about? Look it up yourself, pray about it. This is the promise of God's covenant. It's amazing. So moving on here, verse 48. As is the earthy, so also are those who are earthy. And as is the heavenly, so also are those who are heavenly. Okay. That makes sense, right? That statement doesn't really need to be broken down. 49, and just as we have borne the image of the earthy, we will also bear the image of the heavenly. So this is an interesting one. We bear the image of the earthy. That's referring to, obviously, the body that Adam was given from the earth. Adam and, Eve came from his rib. She's from the earth as well, technically. And then they procreated and, onward, right? All progeny from them is technically from the earth, even though it's, we come from flesh. We're born through the womb of flesh of a woman. And so our image is also God's image. So when he created man, he created us. He created Adam in his image. It's referring to the body, like the form of a body, right? And so this is actually what I'm going to be touching on a little bit in my Yahweh's Divine God bod presentation at the virtual conference there. Just how, Yahweh, it's to say that we're made in his image, but yet he doesn't have an image it's silliness. It's just silliness. Unfortunately, folks have kind of taken that and run with different directions that just aren't scriptural. And so I'm going to be talking about that in that video. So I don't want to give that away, but yeah, so we will also bear the image of the heavenly. That's awesome, right? That means we're going to have a spiritual body. We're going to have that spiritual image that the Son has. And again, what did the Son have? What did he exemplify after his resurrection? Well, read the Gospels, read after his resurrection. You know, everything that he does, all his little interactions with the disciples, and yeah, just everyone he interacts with. What is he doing? He's showing up. He can disguise himself. He still has his wounds, apparently. He can eat. He flies. He will come back looking rather interesting, so his body can morph. These are all things that Baruch was shown as well. All the different characteristics of a spiritual body and what it can do. It's gonna be wild, guys. It's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be glorifying to the Father ultimately, right? He's gonna be glorified through what he's giving us. It's incredible. All right, so verse 50 here. Now I say this, brothers, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, so that's an important statement to understand here. And he's getting that off of, I would assume he's getting that from John chapter 3. He obviously was aware of the late night dialogue between Nicodemus and Yeshua, and how Yeshua tells him he has to be born again, and he has to be born of a substance that's not flesh and blood. It has to be a different substance if you want to walk into the kingdom of God and you want to inherit it, meaning you want to like live in it and survive in it. You got to be made of something that is compatible with it. So that's what Paul is saying here. Nor does the corruptible inherit the incorruptible. Okay. Verse 51, behold, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. So that's pretty cool. He obviously knew whether or not, I mean, there's discussions and debates as to like, did Paul think that Yeshua was going to be returning in his day? And was he teaching, his congregation that they themselves, some of them won't be sleeping because they'll be changed when Yeshua comes in their day? I mean, that's obviously debatable. I personally don't think. I think Paul probably understood that there was going to be quite a bit more time until the kingdom of God would literally come. And so, and maybe I'm biased, or maybe I'm just misunderstanding something, but I think that, Paul likely knew that there was going to be a lot more people that had to be born, a lot more people that would have to go through this process of the timeline that the Father had created. And so maybe he knew that his writings, his letters would be read by those of us millennia later. I don't know. It's hard to say. Probably not. But either way, what this is referring to is for those at the end, right at the latter days, right before Yeshua returns. He's pretty much just telling us, and he gets that information out of Second Ezra too, I believe. Second Ezra is amazing, guys. If you haven't read it, please go do that. I have an audiobook. If you don't like reading, go take a listen to that, because Ezra was also shown too that at the return of Messiah, when the dead are raised from out of Sheol or Hades, whatever, it's Sheol or Hades. When they're raised, there's going to be those who are on the earth who are believers who will change, right? They won't experience the first death. So that's kind of like the mystery. It's like, oh, well, obviously there's going to be people alive. It's going to be a crazy time period. That 42 months leading up to when Yeshua returns is going to be absolutely wild. Like, to me, it's like unbelievable that there's going to be people alive leading up to that day. It just sounds like it's going to be the most insane period of human history. I mean, it will be technically, but there will be believers who are keeping the commandments of God, who Satan's chasing after them and doesn't like them. He's persecuting them. Some of them are being persecuted unto death, so they will die and go to Sheol. But then there will be some who don't. They don't die. It's these people who will be changed in the twinkling of an eye, he says, verse 52. So they will be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we will be changed. So here we have this, I guess it's a time qualifier. So we get this trumpet. It's the seventh trumpet in Revelation. That thing goes off, the angel blows it. That essentially kicks off Yahweh's nod to the angels saying, "Go for it," right? Because they're apparently, according to Baruch, the angels are there waiting, um, and circling around his throne, waiting there for him to give a nod, so they can lead the charge with Yeshua, because they want to help us. They want us to be part of their family. Yeah, they yearn for the day when we're all going to be together in our Father's house, and so that happens at this last trumpet. And so when this trumpet sounds, the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we will be changed. Yes, everybody will be changed. Those who are mortals on the earth during that time and believers, they'll be changed in the twinkling of an eye. Their flesh, in my opinion, will undergo what Yeshua's flesh underwent when he resurrected, because technically, and according to prophecy, um, his flesh would not undergo decay. So he was in the grave. His body, once he passed away, his body was taken off the cross and put in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, and it stayed in there for 3 days. His soul went to Sheol, like all men's souls do, because he's a man, guys. He's not this hypostatic union where the flesh died and then the God part of him stayed alive. No, like his soul, because he was a man, he had a soul, went to Sheol. And when the Father resurrected him from out of Sheol, brought his soul forth from Sheol, he had this transformative change in his physical body within the tomb because it hadn't rotted. So not only did Sheol have to give him up because of his perfect lawful obedience to the Father, his body didn't undergo decay. So he had this twinkling of an eye change, because we know that his body wasn't in the tomb, right? But yet he had this first fruits resurrection body. He's a life-giving spirit now, right? So that, I believe, is what the mystery is here that Paul's referring to, of these individuals who are going to go undergo this similar body transformative change, but yet won't receive that first death, if that makes any sense. Verse 53, for this corruptible must put, I think I already read that. Verse 54, but when this corruptible puts on the incorruptible, and this mortal puts on immortality, then will come about the word that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? That's amazing. It's amazing, guys. Verse 56, now the sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. I've heard so many people twist this one. They want to make it say that if you're keeping the law, you're giving power to sin, or like it's like akin to sinning, so we shouldn't be keeping the law. Like it's incredible, guys, how many people take this out of context and don't look at Paul's other writings and how he refers to the law as a spiritual, as like perfect behavior. It's Yahweh's standard for how life is to thrive. And so to think that the law is sinful somehow, it's a very contradictory statement. And if that's someone like yourself is thinking that, I suggest you rethink that and do a little bit more research with regards to that, because the law is it's important. It's a very important part of God's creation. It's his constitution. And it's going to be the constitution within the kingdom that I've been referring to that's going to come. That's going to be the constitution, everything within his law. So get used to it. Might as well start now if you haven't already aligned yourself with that constitution. If you're from America, which I'm assuming the majority of you guys are, I know I got a sister in here who's from Cape Breton, and another brother from Canada is in here, but we can't refer to our Charter of Rights as a constitution, guys, as like being sacrosanct, because unfortunately it's like it can be changed and twisted, and like it's nothing like what America's got. But you guys in America know what the Constitution is, right, and how sacrosanct it really is. And so it's the same thing with Yahweh's law. It's immutable. It cannot be changed. It's perfect. It works. It creates goodness and health and life. And so let's adhere to it the very best that we can. Verse 58, guys, we're going to end this here. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. It's great. It's a great way to end that chapter. So I want to encourage you guys also, be steadfast, be immovable, root yourself into the Word of God, and keep in mind just the promises of what it means to walk in covenant with the Father, like what that really means. And a lot of us in the Torah community, we like to use that phrase, I'm in covenant. It's a covenant, but the promises of the covenant is everything that Paul's referring to here, right? He breaks it all down for us. And this is part of the good news of the gospel message is we get to go from natural to spiritual. And that was the Father's will for us in our lives, right? I love it. I hope that you guys are encouraged by it. And I mentioned back here in verse 52, at the last trumpet, this is going to sound. So for those of you who've already blown your shofars, your trumpets for Yom Teruah, hope you had fun. I love that you're doing the feast days and that it's on your heart to do them. And for those of us who haven't yet gotten to Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, I pray that you guys enjoy it. I hope that you keep in mind kind of what the feast is all about. And in my opinion, all of these feasts really end up culminating to, or like they're like a foreshadow to the day of the Lord. Yom Teruah included. I know a lot of people want to say that Yom Teruah is like it's got to be fulfilled in the future, and Yeshua's already done Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits. Those are fulfilled, meaning like he's got to fulfill these other ones. I believe that all of them are just shadow pictures that are eternal, and we're going to be keeping them in the kingdom, but they're pointing to the great and terrible day of the Lord. When the trumpet blows, it's day of the Lord. When Yeshua comes down, passes over those of us who are resurrected. He incurs his wrath on the wicked. That's a Passover. It's all typologies of what's to come through the day of the Lord. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I really do. I might live stream that day. It's hard to say. We might be having some company come over, and if that's the case, then I won't be. But I was hoping to get to video production of all the feast days this year to get videos out before they come, but time is slippery, guys, as you all know. I'm sure you can empathize. I did do a Passover unleavened bread first fruits videos. I was able to release those before the feast days came, but unfortunately I'm not going to get the trumpets in time. But what are you guys saying in the chat here? What we got? Tyler Porter saying amen, Ken. Thank you, brother. Mark Merritt. Thanks, Ken. We'll be looking forward to your next videos. Yes, my next videos, guys, are going to be I released these little images, these little graphics on my social media that show you kind of what I'm working on and what to look out for. And so I have a video coming out. I think I'm going to title it "Nobody Goes to Heaven." I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like maybe cringe to some of you, but those types of titles and the thumbnails, they draw folks in, right? I'm a fisher of men. I'm trying to fish for men, to bring them in, to listen to the word, to test it ultimately, and to follow the Father, right? To get clarity on scriptural matters. And so that is going to be, I think, my next video on my channel that I'm going to be releasing, hopefully very soon. Yahwehs Divine God bod. That'll be for the conference coming up. And I'm also working on a video called The True Gospel in 3 minutes. And so I'm going to keep it to 3 minutes. I'm going to try to make it so succinct and compact that, the second you click on it, it's just boom, it gives you everything in 3 minutes. And I'm hoping that it can be a tool that draws in more people. Because, folks these days have very short attention spans. And so I try to keep my videos between 15 minutes to 30 minutes. Sometimes I go beyond that, depending on what the topic is. It's hard to stay within that type of time frame. But I'm doing a 3-minute video on summation of the gospel message. And I hope you guys share it. I hope you send it to folks and say, hey, you want to see something for 3 minutes might change your life? maybe that person will accept it because it's 3 minutes long. So we'll see. So that's what I'm working on, guys. Working on music as well. Hopefully going to get an album out. I'd like to by the new year, but we'll see. I do work full time outside of all this, so it's really hard to do everything at once. I can't wait until the kingdom, guys, because I don't know. I'd like to continue doing this type of stuff in the kingdom. You know, I want to be able to dedicate all of my time to helping those mortals outside of the kingdom come to a better understanding of what it is that huge kingdom that they see off in the distance is, what that's all about. Who knows what that's going to look like, guys? But I'm sure you empathize with wanting more time, and you know, just seems like it's very slippery. Country fun. Oh, sorry, Berto White. I agree, Ken. Titles like that grab people's attention. Yes, they do. I know. Like technically, heaven is coming down to us. You know, the kingdom of heaven is coming down to us. We may be able to ascend through the firmament layers of the heavens in our new bodies. So technically we may be able to go to heaven, but I think you guys understand what I'm trying to do with that, what the ploy is with regards to that type of a title. Country Fun saying, get them hooked. Yes, we got to get them hooked, guys. We absolutely do. All right, folks, it's just past the hour mark here. I try to keep these around an hour. And I kind of want to go check out Josh over at Founded Earth Brothers, him and Michael, at their live stream. So I kind of want to go hit that up real quick to go see that video. But I thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for coming out tonight. Yeah, my prayer is that my ramblings do something for you. I hope they encourage you. I hope they just inspire you to draw closer to God, get to the Word more. If anything, give you a smile, maybe a laugh, maybe just a reminder of things. It's good to hear people talking about this stuff. I love seeing it. I love when I come across it, and you know, even just a small little post of like whatever. If it's there, it's goes into my mind. I think, yeah, okay, that is coming. It's just a constant reminder. We need to be constantly reminded, guys, of what this stuff is all about and what to look forward to. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna continue doing that. And yeah. All right, folks. I love you guys, and blessings to you. I hope the feast days were good. I hope they will be good for those of you who haven't participated yet. And we'll talk to you next time. Look out for my next live stream, my next videos. And if you haven't already liked this live stream, please do. Share it with your family, friends, if you wish. That'd be great. Yeah, I love you. Shalom, guys.